Hey everybody, Ben here for the Bonehead podcast, and we've got some more Blood Bowl news for you today. This is really cool. Now, we were hoping we would see some stuff like this with the Amazon release. And when I say stuff like this, I mean brand new star players of brand new races. We've got a Snake Man star player, which is, the first time ever? Maybe back in the depths of the first edition we had Snake Men. There have been Snake Men talked about, I think, in some of the Smite magazines. There's Snake Men in the history of Blood Bowl, definitely on like the team list from the lore of Nuffle and stuff like that. But we've got a brand new star player, Boa Constrictor, is how I'm going to pronounce it. There's a lot more letters than that. Let's have a look at the model. So the Warhammer community article went up a very short period of time ago. Tiff and I have just had lunch, so I thought actually now's a great time to take 5 and have a look. So mesmerize your way to a touchdown with the Amazon star player Boa Constrictor. There we go. That's probably the only time I'll use the S's for 3 S's. Okay, so we've got a little bit of blurb here. I've just been interviewing Boa Constrictor Jim. He mentioned that he wants to move into government when he finishes playing. Jim, does that mean he wants to be a civil serpent, Bob? Jim, maybe, Jim, but he's getting so much fan mail, he's sticking to Blood Bowl. Gotta love the classic Blood Bowl puns. It's none other than the legendary Snake Man player, Boa Constrictor. This sashaying serpent is the first Snake Man in Blood Bowl from a race we haven't seen on or off the pitch in quite some time, which is very, very cool. So we've got the first look at the model now. So, how best to describe this model? It is a Snake Man. Okay, right, there you go, job done. Basically, top half of the body, face of a snake, top half of the body of a lizard man, and the bottom of his body is just a snake piece. And then the snake piece at the bottom looks just like you'd imagine the Gorgon to have, or one of those like Age of Sigmar Morathi half serpent people. It's like that. He's still got on all the armor that the Amazon team's got, so very similar design. You've got the Aztec-y stuff, you've got the headdress which ties into it. They've painted him up in the same team scale. Now, one thing to notice here is that this star player does have number 13 on it, which may be maybe nothing. It may be completely wrong. But what we've seen from the releases is that the star players get the numbers after the core box is done. So when we saw it in the Norse, we saw that the what was it? The Yeti had 15 on it, because there's 14 in the box, and the Yeti got 15. So Serpent here, I think, does sadly, this is a bit of a stretch, I guess, but I believe this means that there's going to be no big guys for the Amazon, nothing else extra. We've seen the first 12 Amazons, this is the 13th, and it is a star player. So Boa Constrictor looks like he's on a 32 mil base, so doesn't look like a massive star. We do have some information on his rules and stats a little bit further down. So despite his notable lack of legs, this scaly fella has a sensational move of 6 and prefers the position of runner, using skills such as dodge, sidestep and safe pair of hands to snake his way up the field, ball in hand or mouth. Okay, right, so movement 6. Now, even though the rumours for the Amazon team say that they're going to be fast as elves, I mean, I don't think that's likely to. I think the thrower and the blitzer may have movement 7, but I pretty much, I can't see the entire team being made faster. So move 6 on the Serpent kind of plays into the same piece of the team. Now, dodge step is interesting. So what we've seen from some of the star players that Games Workshop have put out is not a lot of combat skills. Now, if this guy is going to have dodge step, I can't imagine him actually getting block or wrestle. Wrestle would be perfect for a snake, I think. Like, just the whole point of the snake enveloping the player and dragging him down to the ground. Wrestle just makes so much sense. But actually having dodge and sidestep works really well in a kind of defensive route, especially with his special power, which we'll come to that in a second. Safe pair of hands is if the dude's knocked down, he gets to choose a square where the ball goes, which is fine. But does have a very cool special power. So when this sinewy serpent isn't showing off for his adoring fans in the Lustrian Super League, there we go, so the Lizardman players out there, pay attention, you might have a star player you can afford on your team. He can use his hypnotic glare to befuddle opponents. This lets him snatch the ball out of their hands, a perplexing skill that leaves even the smartest of players confused. So the power that this dude's going to have is look into my eyes. Once per game, if Boa starts his activation marking an opposition player with the ball, he may roll a d6. On a 1, nothing happens. On a 2+, the opposition player loses possession of the ball, Boa immediately gains possession of the ball, and then Boa's activation immediately ends. Okay, let's take a couple of minutes to dissect that a bit. There's a Magic the Gathering. If you listen to any Magic the Gathering podcast, limited resource is just the best one out there. They have this theory called setup cost. Like if a card or something has an ability that is great, but what's the setup cost? Now, Boa here, I'm going to call this a medium setup cost. Once per game, if Boa starts his activation marking an opposition player with the ball. So you have to, on your turn, have the ball carrier on your opponent's side in base contact with Boa. Normally, I'd say that's a massive setup cost. But because he's got dodge step, and he's got movement 6, which gives him pretty good mobility, there are going to be many times where you can orchestrate this one or another. You put him on the side of the cage, your opponent blocks him, he sidesteps in next to the ball carrier. You find a way to get an attack on the ball carrier or a chain push to push him into contact with Boa. It's not going to be automatic, not by a long shot, but actually it's definitely doable. It will take a bit of play, but that's going to play into the way that this Amazon team, I think, is going to play out, which is about being really good with your positioning. And you know what? Having a player that's just a 2+ strip ball is phenomenal. Now, thinking about it from a Lizardman point of view as well, if this star player is going to be able to play for them, which, given that he's called out that he's going to be in the Lustrian Super League, it makes a lot of sense that he will be. Yeah, it will be useful. It depends. I mean, it's difficult because skinks are fantastic and sauruses are fantastic. I'm not really sure what you're looking for in a star player for Lizardman teams. You've already got movement 8 excellent dudes, and you've already got a whole ton of strength. This ability is really cool though. So if you can start your turn with not even start your turn, just when he activates, he's in contact with the ball carrier. On a 2+, you take it away. Now that comes to the second piece, is that's his end. That's the turn over, right? That's it. There's no more for Boa to do in that turn, which can be a bit risky. But actually, what you're doing is, to use another Magic the Gathering phrase, is you're time walking them. If Boa then has the ball, your opponent, like the entire game shifts. If you gain control of the ball, your opponent then has to play counterplay to get the ball back before they can move offensively, and normally that's going to cost them at least 1 turn. So you're going to get time walked by this guy. Now it's only once per game, but once per game can be huge, right? You know, you play the 2-1 grind. Well, if this guy can just get into base contact with the ball carrier by chain pushes or just being able to dodge step in there, and then bam, 2+, he's got the ball. Now you have to protect him. On a Lizardman team, that's not going to be too bad because actually your Sauruses are going to be able to protect him. There might be a bit of guard kicking around. Depending on how the Amazon roster plays out, you may have Blodge Guard Blitzers there ready to protect him as well. And we don't know what strength Boa Constrictor is likely to be. If we have a scroll up and have a look at the model again, I'm not seeing this as anything more than strength 3. I'm not. I don't think he's going to have a combat skill. I love a Snake Man team. That's just awesome, and I love how they keep dropping these things in, like the Zote, like the Snake Man here. I've got really high hopes that Games Workshop at some point on the line are just going to, well, do what they did with the Corn team, do what they did with the Skink, not the Skink team, although I'd like that too. You know, do what they did with the Snotling team. You know, just go, this is going to be fun. Let's put this in there. Let's bring the Zote back. Let's bring the Amble back for 40k with Blackstone Fortress. It's a really cool way to just bring back stuff from the past. So I will take 1 Slan team, please, and 1 Snake Man team, please, because why the heck not? This is a cool design. It's not amazing, right? This is not an instant buy, but it's a very cool model. And there are some Forge World models that they drop, and I'm like, we'll get it for the channel. To show off the size, and then it will stay built and primed on my side for the rest of time. Snaky Boy here, I'm going to pick up, and I'm probably going to run him as my thrower in my Amazon team because it's a really cool model. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's a really cool model. And if we can get like a Melusai, that's what I think they're called, the Medusa Dark Elf hybrids in Age of Sigmar, if we can get a team like that, it's just awesome. I know there's a load of you out there that use them as like vampires and stuff, and it just looks sweet. A Snake Man team, really interesting. They're in the fluff, they're in the game now. Big fan of that. Boa Constrictor is wriggling his way to pre-order soon. In the meantime, sign up for the Forge World, blah, 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 blah. Boa has a bad habit of mistaking the ovoid Blood Bowl balls as eggs and has swallowed 4 balls over his career. Okay, there we go. So what we do know is Lustrian Super League, dodge step, safe pair of hands, which will be useful for that counterplay. You know, he steals the ball and then he gets punched, which means even if you can't protect him, you can build a cage around where you know that ball's going to go. That's really useful too. Interesting one, right? I love this. I love a bit of brand new news. I love more star players and I love more races into Blood Bowl because they're just building out the design space. It's a cool player. Once per game, he's just going to be the best player on the pitch. The rest of the time depends on his strength, depends if he's got combat skills. I imagine strength 3, I imagine combat skills, and therefore price-wise, this dude may be 150k. 150k with this skill and this ability, it's going to come in really handy. Anything more than that, and I think you're going to struggle to get him to the pitch. However, cool model, I'll be picking one up. It's just a cool way to go. Big fan of this. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think stats-wise. Let me know what you think would be good, would be bad, and whether you like the model. And yeah, we'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content, apparently. Happy blocking.
Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content, we get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.